are you calling inferior?
Okay, here's a look at Transformers Studio Series, Transformers, the movie, Constructicon, Bonecrusher. So here you could see what the front of the box looks like with the nice artwork of Bonecrusher in robot mode and his alt mode. And the back of the box, you get your typical product image. And up here, there's a screenshot from the movie and a short little description. You could pause and read if you're interested in what that says. And the side of the box, interestingly, it's a Autobot logo, but with the artwork of Bonecrusher's shoulder, which is a new design for packaging. But it's actually a continuation of the front. So this is kind of cool. So a 3/4 angle gets you a full shot there. And the other side, you get an image of the combined mode of Devastator. And the top of the box, Transformers, the movie, Constructicon, Bonecrusher. The bottom, warning words and stuff. So that is a look at the box. And real quick, this figure is brought to me by my friend and owner of ToyArena.com. This video is not sponsored by ToyArena.com, but I just wanted to give a shout out to him. And just want to let you know that he's also friends with Eddie from Toy Dojo. So those are two places where you can get this figure from if you're interested. So with that, let's take a closer look at the figure. First, let's go over the instructions and accessories. So first, let's go over the instructions that I now like to go over because I really don't like the way they handle these instructions or detailed drawings because, yeah, not only is it missing the text, but when you look at it, it's a little hard to kind of follow the visual instructions. But thankfully, you know, this is a mainline retail figure, so this is pretty easy to figure out how to transform. And then in terms of the accessories, first you get his handgun, which is nicely sculpted. I'm sure that's very tune accurate. And then we have this piece, which I like to call assembly required. And that's because you have to take the figure, and on his back, you could see there's that black piece that has like a T tab, and here this has a T slot, so you line it up and then you slide it in all the way, and then you completed the assembly. And the same thing with his gun, you just simply tab it in. However, the tolerance on here is really tight, which is a good thing because you could see, you know, things don't go flopping around. But there is a downside. I mean, trying to tab things in is a little tight. So sometimes it's a little hard to get in. You have to apply force, and sometimes you end up popping things off. And the same thing happens when you're manipulating it during transformation. You have to apply force, and then that causes things to pop off. So just pointing out something to be aware of. But now you could see this is what Bonecrusher looks like. And now let's compare this with the animation model. And you could see I laugh because yeah, there are some things off proportionately speaking, but yeah, you can almost say this is what Fans Toys his Bonecrusher is gonna look like. But at least a good thing, you could see, you know, it does have all the tune accurate colors and details, so that's cool. And then the back view, yeah, it's close, except it has this piece. But fortunately, if you bring it up, you could see it's on a mushroom peg, so you can move the head and canopy out of the way, and then just carefully untab that or take it off, and then put the canopy back and his head, and then adjust the chest piece. And then you could see now his back does look a little bit more tune accurate, so that's really cool. So that's a look at the figure. And now let's do this. Let's come up a little bit closer so we can get a better view. And here you could see how nicely sculpted this is. And you know, this paint it's you know, this metallic gunmetal paint, which is cool. I do like it, but because I'm all about the tune accuracy, I kind of wish that it was gray. But this does look really nice, and it is a nicely sculpted head. And then you could see the chest. Look at that. It's really nicely sculpted. All the details nicely painted. And then when you come down, you could see throughout the figure, they did put in all this nicely sculpted detail, which is not tune accurate, but you know, it does make the figure look really nice. So just showing you all of that, it does look nice. And this is not the detail, but just thought I'd show you that. And then in terms of articulation, the head can rotate side to side, and you could see the chest is on a panel piece, so it can go look up and down that way. And then his shoulders, you could see, is on a ball joint, so that means it can go forward, it can go back, it can go out to side, and it can go all around. And then his bicep also on a ball joint, so that means it can go forward, it can go back, it can rotate side to side, all around. And then his hand, you could see it's sculpted into the wrist and painted purple, which I know some people complain about it, but it actually doesn't look too bad to me, considering this is a mainline retail. This is a toy, not a collectible, so that's okay. Along with this cavity here, or the waffle people say. But yeah, there's the hand. And then the waist does not have waist rotation or ab crunch unless you bring down the chest. And then you could see there is a waist rotation and an ab crunch, part of the transformation. But you can kind of tweak it, so you can kind of fake it till you make it, if you really wanted to do that. And then his hips here, you could see, are also on a ball joint. So that means it can go forward, it can go back, it can go out to the side, all around. And then his thighs do have thigh rotation. And his knees can bend. And here I want to use this to use as an example for what I'm always pointing out, the nub. So this is what I'm talking about when I say a nub, that I like to call a speed bump. And this functions to help lock it in place. And it does not cost a lot to simply add this piece in, because you could see once you lock it in place, yeah, it's stuck there. And so, you know, for example, the recent Magic Square Onslaught that I reviewed, the front tire, you know how it keeps going back in. They could have easily fixed that by just simply putting a nub here, and then this, you know, the upper wheel and then the lower wheel, and then you bring it down. That would lock it in place. So yeah, this is what I'm always talking about when I say the little nub or speed bump. And it doesn't really cost a lot to sculpt that in. But anyways, he does have a knee joint. And then he does have a ankle rocker on the pin, and the feet can go down but not really up. And I also wanted to point this out, all the new figures, it's really cool that they gave you these ankle rockers, because that actually helps with the balance and stability. So here you could see when you get him at an A stance, he can make contact with the ground. Unlike the old days, they didn't give you the ankle rocker, and you could see that, yeah, it's not making full contact with the ground, so it kind of wobbles around. So I'm just pointing out the function of the ankle rockers is really important in terms of, you know, the form and function and balance and stuff like that. But anyways, that's a look at Bonecrusher. So now let's do some comparisons. Okay, so for the first comparison, let's bring out the original G1. And here you could see what these two look like together. And this is the Takata reissue, the tune colored version. So the colors of the green and purple are probably more closer to the cartoon. But either one of these, they kind of look the same to me. And I actually wanted to just share my thoughts on this figure. I wonder if Takata is planning on doing a missing link for the original G1 Constructicons, because I can totally see that this can easily be fixed. Like the center green, you could just make it so that they pull out to extend. And then this black shoulder joint, maybe add a ball joint, kind of like the ball joints I was showing you here, so that it would be facing down, not out and then down. So yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts. That would be really cool if they made a missing link of the Constructicons. But anyways, here's a look at the original G1. And then there was, well, first there was the Combiner Wars, which, you know, I have that one formed as Devastator, but I also have the Takata Unite Warriors version, which this one is a little bit more tune accurate because it doesn't have the silver chest and silver arms. But here you could see the difference between the two, and I laugh because this one is proportionately slimmer, if you will, so it does look a little bit more tune accurate. But I never really understood the purple here. I don't know why they did that. But yeah, you could see what the difference between these two. This used to be my masterpiece villain because you could see how much taller he is. But there's also something else I wanted to point out in terms of the quality of the plastic. This, you know, it's kind of like a harder plastic that's almost, you know, bordering on being brittle, so it is prone to crack and breakage, where this one, you know, it's really strong plastic. That's why, you know, the tolerance here is really tight. But I'm saying that because when you're transforming this, like certain areas like here, you know, it's a little hook and it's a thin piece of plastic on this type of plastic, and you have to know how to carefully manipulate this, or you might accidentally crack and break that because of the type of plastic here, kind of like X-Transbot. So I'm just pointing out, you know, something to be aware of with the old Combiner Wars. But yeah, you could see the difference, and I actually still like that. And then for another comparison, here is the KO undersize version of the Combiner Wars. And here you could see, you know, this one does have the silver painted arms and chest, you know, kind of trying to capture the original G1. So here, you know, it has the silver. Yeah, so here you could see the difference, and I'll just try to bring them all out so we can kind of get a group shot of these. Kind of like, you know, my friend Chris, what he likes to do on Facebook, he likes to put his figure collections up, which is really cool. And here you could see what these guys look like. And here, as a part of the fourth party KO, you get issues like this where you could see it's very flimsy and wobbly. And here's a perfect example. I was telling you about, you know, those little hooks and stuff. So yeah, you could see it did kind of break already, and there's no point in trying to put super glue on this because this piece broke off. And here you could see the other side does have a hook, and you could see where this is supposed to hook in on the sides. And yeah, it's first of all, the design, this kind of design is not good, and it's actually more problematic when you use a you know, very brittle type of plastic with thin plastic. So yeah, that's unfortunately that's what happened. And it's also like down here. So I'm just sharing things to point out, you know, things I'm always saying and pointing out in my other videos, so you understand what I'm talking about. You know, the type of plastic and the thin plastic and certain areas, the way it's engineered like that. This is the consequence of it. But anyways, here is a group shot of the Bonecrusher. Yeah, so you could see what it looks like. And even though he is a little bit chunky, I actually do like this figure a lot because, like I said, this is very strong and durable, and it's fun and easy to transform. So with that, now let's go ahead and transform Bonecrusher to his alt mode and take a look at that.
Hoist! Landslide!
Okay, to transform Bonecrusher to his alt mode, first remove the accessories, so untap his gun, and then you want to lift his arms up, and then on the upper part, the forearm, rotate that around 180 on both sides, and then you could see this is going to flip down and over onto that tab. So you need to find the tab and the slot, line it up, tab it in, and then do the same on the other side. Make sure you find that tab and line it up, tab it in, and then you can bring down this front shovel piece, and then here you want to start bringing down these pieces here on that hinge, and then we could fold in his head, and here you want to bend it down a little bit past the 90 degrees, so that you could now rotate these arms in. And I'm pointing out there is a little, that hinge is a little in the way, it's like a bump, so you do kind of have to push that up a little until you get it together. Once you do, then you tab the two arms together, and then there is this little tab that goes in that slot, so then you can just push that up, get this all straightened up, and then lift up the top canopy piece. And then his feet, this is cool, you just bring those 2 feet together, and then now you're going to rotate this down, both legs, and then you can see there's the tabs and the slot. And then if you want, you can add this piece back, so let's just put this back in. Now it's not very tune accurate, but there's also the tabs here that also lock into place. So you basically just find these tabs, line it up, tab it in, and then give it a good squeeze. And then here, let's see, the hinge, you could see it goes down, up, and down. And then we have Bonecrusher in his alt mode. And for weapon storage, you can, put it on any one of those 5mm ports. And now we have Bonecrusher in his alt mode. So now let's zoom in and take a closer look at all the nicely sculpted detail. You could see it makes the figure look really nice. It's not very tune accurate, but like I said, it makes it look nice. All the little details there, even on the back, they gave you sculpted in rear lights and stuff. So yeah, this is really nice. And in terms of articulation, it's basically just the shovel piece can go up, and if you want, you can kind of extend this. Not really like all the way like they did in the cartoon, but yeah, this is still really nice. Now let's compare this with the animation model, and you could see that for the most part, I think they did a nice job capturing the toon aesthetics. It's just maybe a little tall up here, but I really like how they painted this front part purple, because that actually looks very toon accurate. And then the back, you could see that yeah, they also did a nice job with the back. So that's a look at Bonecrusher in his alt mode. And for comparisons, let's bring out the original G1. So here you could see what these two look like together. This is the Takata Tomy reissue, the toon accurate colors. So you could see what this looks like. And let's put him over there. And then there was the Combiner Wars. Wow, this is pretty big. And the difference here, like I told you, I don't know why they painted that purple. But yeah, you could see what this looks like. And yeah, I'll point this out because, someone else was also mentioning. Here, these do have some nice wheels, so it can roll. And unfortunately, the Studio Series does not. And I guess that's just up to you whether that matters or not. But for me, it doesn't really matter. But here you could see the difference between the old Combiner Wars or the Unite Warriors. And then there was the KO undersized version of the Combiner Wars. And here, yeah, I want to use this to point out some more examples of things that I was pointing out because, yeah, I just had some issues with this. So, you know, I'm always talking about the type of plastic, X-Trans bots, and I was explaining to you the thin plastic piece. So, yeah, where is it? You know, up here I was showing you, you know, those little clips where they kind of, you know, they're thin. And first of all, the design, you know, the clips where it's supposed to clip on, it's not good. And then when you have to apply force, then you have to be more careful because you might break it. And that's kind of how this part happened. So it's really hard to work with that kind of design and the type of plastic. And then I'm going to point out that it actually happened again. So here you could see, you know, this little tab. It's a thin piece of plastic and it's supposed to go into that slot. And then you do have to apply some force to get it in there. And here it actually broke. So you could see it broke and it stuck in there. And that's because when I was putting this in, first there's a tab also up here in the front that you need to get in. And then when I was putting it in, I have to apply force and then it kind of slipped. And when it slipped, guess what? It broke because of the type of plastic. So yeah, I'm just using this as an example just to point out things I'm always pointing out. But yeah, you could see the difference between the two. It's basically just a smaller version of the Combiner Wars or the Takata Unite. So here now you could see, let's zoom out a little bit to get a group shot. So here you could see what all these guys look like together in their alt mode. And yeah, the first thing I'm noticing is, yeah, the color green is a little bit different. And I'm not going to get all into which one's more tune accurate. I just, you know, just pointing out the color on the new Studio Series is a little off. And now for one last comparison in alt mode. Here he is next to the Studio Series Scrapper. And here you could see what these two guys look like. And I'm actually kind of getting excited about this because, you know, these are going to be my Constructicons for my mainline retail or War for Cybertron, Siege, Legacy, United, whatever, you know, line you want to call it. But yeah, this actually looks cool. Can't wait to get the hook and long haul. But yeah, here you could see what these two guys look like together. And I'm just pointing out differences here. I was telling you it's missing that Decepticon logo. I think I'll put a sticker on there. But yeah, here's, yeah, these two look pretty good together. So now let's transform Bonecrusher back to robot mode and have our final thoughts. Okay, now that we have Bonecrusher back in robot mode, my final thoughts on this figure, it's not really much to say other than, you know, it's a nice figure. It is easy to transform, which makes it fun to play with. But the positives, you could see the tolerance is really stiff. It does have good amount of articulation, such as the ankle rockers. So you can get some really cool poses out of this. Yeah, so it's a fun toy to play with. It's not a masterpiece collectible, but you know, all things considered, yeah, this is really a nice figure. And he actually looks really nice next to their scrapper. So this, yeah, is a little exciting because now you're just really looking forward to getting the long haul and hook, and then completing the rest of the Constructicons. And then, you know, some people might want to form the Devastator. But yeah, I think I already mentioned that these are going to be my Constructicons, because my Devastator is actually going to be the Combiner Wars, which I already mentioned in my review for the Scrapper, how it scales really nice together. So with that, that's my final thoughts and review for the Studio Series Bonecrusher.
Who are you calling inferior?